all the bandages and these strapping bits all around here. I presume they're bandages. I think they are. So what we're going to do, we're not going to totally base coat that. We're going to use the colours that we've already got there. We're going to mix up a colour to start putting the first layers of these bandages on with these colours here. I've got chocolate or chipping, a bit of tan yellow, and we're lightening it with blue grey. So we want this sort of, you know, old and worn sort of look. So we're going to be trying to get that grey in there to give it that sort of worn look. And we're gonna try and think about our light source, which is from this angle. So we're going to be emphasizing more light there. So we're going to try and build up some light spots. Where that sort of the light's going to hit. So on this part here, we're going to try and add some like a bit more coverage down this side of the leg. And we don't want it sort of like a shine like NMM, but we do want it to be evident that this is the light source where it's coming from. I'm just trying to paint these quite carefully because I don't want to get the paint in between these straps. I want to leave that dark line there so that I don't have to go back and repaint it. Right, so that's the start of that. Right then, so I've gone ahead and painted all the rest of those bandages, and you see here the ones that are around here in the moonlight and the shadow. I just took that mix we've just used and I added a little bit of the star blue and a bit more of the chocolate brown in. So that's going to stay that sort of colour and that won't get any more highlights now. That sort of looks cool enough, I think, in that shadow area. So for this highlight now, I've added blue grey into our previous mix, so we get a much lighter mix now, and we're just going to paint some little highlights on these bandages. So you see I'm here with this highlight, I'm painting it. It's quite sort of scratchy and liney. I'm not trying to create, you know, a super smooth blend here because I want this to look roughish. And if we can add some stippling or some little dots, it's going to help sell the effect. Okay then, so I've gone over and done all the highlights over the ones that I think are going to show the most light. So we're just going to add a little bit more blue grey to the mix now, which will probably be the final highlight on these. So this time I'm very much trying to just catch the tops of some of these bandages, and we just want to be able to show some little dots and scratches. that will make certain bits stand out. And we don't want to go too overboard with this layer. We want to keep it very minimalistic and make sure that it is a highlight. And we're going to be adding some little scratches and nicks on this, just to add some sort of wear and tear look to these bandages, because you know she's obviously old, she's been maybe mummified for centuries, so these bandages are not going to be like brand new. And what I'm doing here is I move down the leg, I'm actually putting less and less of a highlight. And this is to like simulate the light, because you know if the light's coming from slightly above, then that light will dissipate as it travels downwards. So we get this effect of the light being pushed towards the top and towards this side. That will create us that illusion of setting the miniature in a space in the light. Right, so the next thing is to try and I just want to finish this strapping off now. And when I look at it, what I see is there's a really nice dark side here, but some of this side has sort of got a bit too wishy-washy. So I've taken my star blue, which I've been using throughout, and a bit of whole red now, and I've mixed that up into a little glaze that's sort of this consistency. There's definitely paint in it, it's like a heavy glaze, and we're going to just try and glaze some of those deeper shadows back in. Don't want to go too crazy here, but I just want to push some of these darker edges back. And all this is to do is just to keep the contrast how we had it, and you know, make sure the front of these bandages really stand out. Where we can, we try to push the paint where we want it to be the heaviest or the most opaque. So here, if you see, I've turned the miniature around so that I could push the paint into the deep crevice. So what we're also going to try and do here, we've lost a little bit of the definition between some of these bandages, so I'm going to try very carefully to put that line back in. You might call this dark lining or black lining. It's just trying to redefine those objects, and a dark line around things really helps to make them stand out a bit more. Right, so that's looking a bit better now. I'm liking that. Just a couple more layers, just to build up that darkness in the line there. This is the thing to remember when you're using thin paint. It's going to take multiple layers to get opacity. But sometimes this is a good way to do things as opposed to trying to paint with thicker paint, which is much harder to paint smaller lines with. So what we can also do with this mix while we've got it is we'll try and add some other little nicks and scratches